I want to go back and take a moment to do some announcements, kind of catch everybody up here since we're at the beginning of our new Rotary year. And I'll kind of open this up to any of the district leadership that have something to share. Chris, I know while you're on here, anything to update the group on membership, which is an important part of our successful grant programs.
Well, thank you, Leanne. We're looking at, we've identified Bruce Allen as the next district membership chair to replace me as I move up the district governor line. We're working with him on training him to do some of the RI training programs. Sorry, I'm in a weird room here, a little bit disconcerting. And anyway, he's very excited. So I am too.
You're muted, Leanne.
I know Tim really appreciates that when that happens, but I'm sorry. So Cindy, this is our save the date opportunity here for the upcoming quarterly meetings for the rest of the year. Do you want to share that with the folks on the line so they can all get this on their calendars?
Well, sure. October 21st is our Medford meeting in person. We hope to be able to rent a venue down there for a TRF dinner on the very same day. So come to an in-person grants meeting in the Medford area and join us for the TRF rendezvous cowboy dinner. It's going to be fun. In January, we'll Zoom again, so folks don't have to attend a quarterly grants meeting and drive in the snow and ice. And April will meet again in Eugene in person.
Great, wonderful. Looking forward to it. So does that mean we get to dress up for the cowboy rendezvous?
Yeah. Kirk Brown has recommended that we call it the Rotary Foundation Roundup.
Love it.
That's what we came up with. So the Rotary Foundation Roundup on October 21st. I met some folks at Rotary Leadership Institute in Bend who hearken from Northern California clubs, and they're willing to lead us in some line dancing. We're going to have to train the district governor, but I think it should be really fun. So please join us. More to come, but save that date, October 21st, somewhere in Southern Oregon.
That's great.
Thanks,
I will pay money and raise money for the Rotary Foundation to see Jim Polk dance. There we go.
Okay, there we are.
There we are.
I'm in
I'll-
for
I'll be
$100
wearing
right
my-
there.
I'll be wearing my everyday clothes because that's how I dress 99% of the time, with boots and blue jeans. But if I'll be way too drunk to dance before I'm so drunk enough to dance. So don't count on it.
Just drunk enough.
I'll talk to Katie about that. All right. So I'm going to move on here, and I'm going to need Pete to do a shout out for me if he's on the call and joining us this morning.
Yep, Pete's on the call.
Oh,
That's
perfect.
right there.
Good enough. I think what I want to do to introduce Pete here is kind of share some of my personal feelings first. And we've announced a couple of times that the corporately Rotary has said in their strategic plan to really have clubs focus on increasing their impact and expanding their reach. And I think as a person, as a Rotarian of now over 25 years, that has been my personal experience as I continue to grow and have opportunities through Rotary presented to me. And one of those has been over the last year, coordinating disaster response grants with the Big West zones, which is zone 26 and 27, which is pretty much half the United States. And the opportunity that was presented to me is to meet this gentleman that you'll have a chance to hear from here in a minute, Pete. We've been on, what, Pete, I think about a year now, weekly calls with the disaster response group at Rotary International and having an opportunity to exchange information with them and grow through that experience. Sorry, I'm getting all kinds of very odd messages here. So it's been great. Pete has been a wonderful support for me, and kind of leading up to what we're talking about today. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Okay, I'm getting a message. You've been signed out on Zoom.
that's a lie.
That's a lie. I
This,
don't,
this computer is not signed into Zoom.
yeah, it's acting really crazy. It's that new computer again. So we're going to power through this, everybody. Thank you. Anyway, back to what I was saying. So in opportunities talking with Pete, he is in the district governor line. I think you're the E this year, Pete. Is that correct?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yep. So I'm very fortunate for his district in Wisconsin. He's an awesome guy and is really fully engaged in Rotary and the impact of what we can do. Anyway, he mentioned to me that he was sharing a video with his classmates about how to use AI to do their job as a DG and make it easier and more energy efficient for a busy district governor. So he shared that video with Tim and I, and that honestly, you guys, is what inspired me to think, how could we maybe incorporate that as a tool into our global grant process? Julie and her team, and I fully support it, have really taken the position of trying to streamline and lower the frustration in getting a successful grant application through the grant reviewers and get that back in a shorter period of time and get that money going to work and working on the project. And I just kind of challenged myself, and Pete said he was in for the challenge to see if we couldn't introduce AI as a possible tool for you to do just that and be more efficient, increase the data in your global grant, as well as cut down the time to approval and get going on there. So Pete, I'm going to stop right there and introduce you and welcome. I'm happy that you joined us this morning.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I'm glad to be here. Tim, can you give me what co-host, I guess, so that I can share my screen?
You should be able to do it. I'm going to stop mine.
Okay, that's what's in the way. Let's see. Okay, you should be able to see a PowerPoint presentation.
Yep.
Good. Okay. So I'm using ChatGPT. The discussion we originally had was around AI in general, but we both kind of agreed that ChatGPT was the best we had worked with. Leanne, I think you said you'd mentioned trying some others. I've certainly tried 2 or 3 other GPT or conversational AI mechanisms, and ChatGPT is by far the best. So that's the one I'm going to A, recommend, and B, show you how to use. So the steps involved in doing this, sign up for ChatGPT, and I highly recommend a paid account. It's $20 a month, and it gives you access to a better brain on the back end. And try it for a little bit without, and then try it with, and I think you'll notice a pretty significant difference. So you log in using Google Chrome. And the reason I specify that one is because there's a particular plugin we're going to use. I think you can find that plugin for most of the other browsers, but I'm not sure. So the plugin is the ChatGPT file uploader extended. And my guess is there'll be a new version out, and it'll be maybe hyper extended or something in a month or so, because the one I had up until I started preparing this was the ChatGPT file uploader. And of course, as technology advances, so the plugins. Anyway, at that point, you prime it with informational documents. You basically teach it what a global grant is all about. And then you ask it to review your proposal. So not very complicated, at least in the broad steps. So the way you sign up for ChatGPT, and those of you who are tech savvy and have been through all of this, please take about a 4-minute nap. So you go to openai.com and you click sign up, and it'll send you an email to verify who you are, and then you basically follow the instructions on here. It's a simple sort of online application type sign up thing. You don't, there's nothing particularly unusual. I used my Google account since I have one that I use all the time. I used that as my sign in, my authentication. So that's a pretty easy way to do it. And then the way you get to a the paid account is you click on the upgrade to plus button on the login page and pick the upgrade plan you want, and then finish your purchase, and it's pretty straightforward. So you fire up Google Chrome, or you download Google Chrome to start with. You'll see a download and install Google link, Google Chrome actually link. Follow those instructions, launch Chrome, and go to chat.openai.com. You also want to add the ChatGPT file uploader extended. And if you look at the number 1 here, you click on the 3 little dots, and a menu will pop up, and you go to extensions and then visit the Chrome web store. You look in number 2 there, you type ChatGPT file upload in the search bar, and you'll see ChatGPT file uploader. You click on that, and then what you'll see is number 3 there, and you just click on the gray box and it will install it for you. So, side note, use GPT-4. I mentioned that before, or actually, sorry, I said if you use ChatGPT, you'll get a better brain. GPT 3.5 and GPT-4 are the 2 brains that are behind ChatGPT. If you don't have a paid account, you'll only have access to GPT 3.5. If you do have a paid account, you'll be able to choose GPT-4. And you have to explicitly choose it, which is just a smidge on the annoying side, because you pretty much always want that. And then when you're ready to ask you questions or tell it things or whatever, you just go into the little send a message text box at the bottom there, and you type something in. I'd call attention to the fact it says GPT-4 currently has a cap of 25 messages every 3 hours. And actually, I think I just answered my question. If you really want to have a long discussion, maybe use 3.5. But anyways, so you'll use 4 for this. And so in your window, you'll see, okay, now we're gonna start priming it with information. We're gonna teach it what a global grant is about. So at the bottom of your ChatGPT window, you'll see send a message. And below that, if you've installed the plugin, the file upload plugin correctly, you'll see an upload file button. So you click that, and you'll have to do it one at a time. Upload areas of focus policy statements, and I'll drop that, or maybe maybe Leanne, you could drop that into the chat stream. And then you upload the terms and conditions highlighted PDF. And that last bullet there is just kind of to keep yourself out of trouble. It'll tell you all kinds of things about the fragment of the document that you uploaded. Let it do that. You have the option of saying stop generating. You can see that little image in the bottom right. And usually that works, and it'll be quiet and it'll wait for your next upload. But sometimes it gets confused, and it says something about uploading or 2 messages at the same time. And so just to keep yourself out of that morass, I would say just don't click the stop generating button. So now at this point, you have installed ChatGPT, or you've logged into ChatGPT, you've taught it about, you've added the plugin so that you can upload files. You've taught it about what a global grant is. Next thing to do is ask it to review your proposal. So the prompt you want to use is, I'm going to give you a proposal for a global grant. Oh, sorry. Yes, right. And you've uploaded the training documents, the two PDFs that we just uploaded. Now your next prompt is going to be, I'm going to give you a proposal for a global grant. Please just read it and say okay. And the reason you want to do it that way is it probably will know anyways, but you want to tell it, this is the thing I'm going to ask you to analyze. And secondly, you really don't want to have it go through the whole process of summarizing it for you before you tell it to analyze. So that's what that prompt does for you. Then you go ahead and upload the file that has your proposal in it. And now you add a grant, it'll say, okay. And then your prompt is, as you can see on there, now please analyze the global grant proposal, including what kind the grant it is and what its area of focus
Hi,
is.
Bill.
Hello? Apply the knowledge from the first 2 documents I sent to assess its suitability as a global grant and identify any areas where a grant reviewer might reject the proposal or want information before approving it. So at that point, we're going to switch over to, let's see, I'm going to stop sharing that screen and start sharing. There it is. Okay, you should now be able to see my Google Chrome browser.
Yes.
Okay, so what, let's see, and it has, okay, here we go. So, and I'll explain in a minute why I'm not doing this live. So here's the prompt that I told you about just now. And what I used here was First Nutritional Forest inside Ecuadorian Amazon. It's one that Leanne sent me. Apparently it's something you're either in the process of putting together or have already put together. But in any case, this is just a document file. It's not formatted. It's not, there's nothing formal about it, but it describes textually the program that you guys are, or that the writer is putting together. So it proceeds to analyze it. And you know what? I'm going to paste all of this text. You can see here areas of focus, possible areas where a grant reviewer might reject a proposal, sustainability, budget and financing, measurable outcomes. You can see all of it. And I'll paste this text into the chat stream so that you can sort of look at it in some more detail. Where is the chat? There it is. Okay. Oh, my message is too long. Well, I'll tell you what, after we finish up with this, I'll put it into a document and upload that document. So you can see here that it did what seems to be a pretty good idea or a pretty good job of letting you know what things you may want to go deeper on. And if there were things that are called out in the 2 training documents that were not in this, okay, actually, for example, we have the document doesn't provide a detailed budget or financing plan. So here we have one where there's a piece, the sustainable elements, they're there, but a reviewer may want more details. And then with the budget, it's not there. And so it's telling you need to add it. So you can see that at least at a 500-foot level, I guess, this gives you a pretty good idea if there are pieces missing or that need more detail. Let me switch back for a second to the presentation. And there we go. So ChatGPT-4, I think I made it pretty clear that's going to give you as long as you spell it right. It's recommended 25 transactions each 3 hours. Now that's the reason that I didn't do this live, is because in the process of uploading documents, there were a couple of places where I told it to, stop generating or, things like that. And it takes a little while for it to go through all that. And I figured you guys probably didn't want to sit there and watch it spew all the text that it spews. Secondly, if you make a mistake in uploading a document, each document is pretty good size and it has to break it into chunks. So for example, the policies and procedures, I think is the document, is 7 parts. That counts as 7 transactions. So I got to the point the first time I tried this where I had reached my 25 transaction limit and couldn't complete the operation. Now I came back after 3 hours and finished it up just fine, but I didn't want to do that live. Anyway, that's the reason I didn't do the whole thing live. And okay, as far as forgetfulness is concerned, if you give it a whole lot of information, and I don't know what that number is, it's probably I don't know, I'm gonna guess 50 or 60 printed pages. It starts to forget the first things that you told it. There isn't a problem with that in the documents that we're looking at here. But if you get into more context and you're feeding it more training information, just be available or be aware that's a possibility. And that's my contact information. So does anybody have any questions, or are there, let's see, I'm going to switch back to, no, that wasn't very smart. I'm going to leave this here so that you can screenshot it if you want. Does anybody have any questions or that sort of thing?
Well,
Well,
Pete,
this
there's
is
been
Jim from the Sisters Club. I'm curious if you uploaded previous successful grant applications as well, and would that be helpful to the process?
I believe it would be helpful. I think if you were to sort of gauge it in terms of how much help a document is, if it's an example of a successful grant versus a document that describes what makes a successful grant, I think the latter would be better. Right, so we decided just to start out with
Who would pay for the
sort of
$2?
instructions for putting together a grant. That said, Leanne and I were trying to extract a set of, and we've got a promise of this document, but it hasn't arrived yet. A list of what were the reasons that grant reviewers rejected documents in the past. So I think once we get that, we can add that to the list of things that upload, and as long as it still fits in GPT-4's brain, which I think is may not be as limited as I think it is, but once we confirm that that all fits in GPT-4's brain, then you're right, we've got a much better mechanism. Did that answer your question? I see you nodding. That's cool.
Yeah, yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Anyone else?
well, there was a, this is Leanne, there was a question in the chat box about the $20 per month. Is that just one user, or is that just the license and more users could take advantage of that?
Well, I can only say what I know, and that is that that's to enable one login. I think how you use that login is between you and ChatGPT.
Okay.
I'm just wondering if there isn't a way, this is Tim, to include that as an administrative cost in the grant. It wouldn't be something that you could have ongoing, obviously, but for writing that grant, that'd be something to look into.
Sure. Yeah, I think, yes, you're absolutely right. I think what you'll find is once you start playing around with it, you'll find 100 other things that are just as useful or more so than this, and you'll probably want to keep at it. But yes, you're right. If it's for a one-off, that's absolutely actually, I don't know. Leanne, would that be a legitimate
Well, it's an administrative cost, yeah.
Mhm.
So another question from DGE Nelson, he said, what document types can you upload? So does it have to be a Word only?
No, actually, the plugin is what allows you to upload those documents, and the one that I've got, the one that I showed you how to install, will do PDFs, Excel documents, Word documents. There's a big long list of documents. Good chance that whatever it is, whatever you have, it'll take. Oh, it'll do zip files. So there's a whole lot of stuff it'll do.
Mhm. Right, thank you. Other questions? Don't hear any. And Pete, thank you very much.
Well,
I
will
got
this
one real
slideshow be
quick one.
available?
Yes, I mean, obviously Pete shared a lot of information with us. I always, is recorded, and I always make the slides as well as the video recording available. And Hal and I post that on the landing page, or let's see, I'm not sure where we put it now, but on the district page so that people can find it, and you will be notified when it's ready. Normally I get the video cleaned up, and that's going to take a lot today after my oops. And I get that posted in a couple of days after the oops, somebody's got whiteboard on. Yeah, I think this is really interesting, and that's why I asked Pete to join us this morning. We did a lot more work because we put up all 7 areas of focus, policy statements and guidelines, which is a lot. If you already know what area of focus you're going to be in, you wouldn't have to do that. Chuck, we did use the Nutritional Forest grant because we got so many questions back from the grant reviewer. I think it was about 24 questions or something back after the initial submission. So we sort of used that as experiment to see how this would go. And what the information coming back was actually pretty amazing, what AI was able to do. I think each of us have our own feelings, and Julie and I have talked about, the AI in whole, how it could go sideways. And I don't disagree with that comment at all. But looking again, going back to my major reason for doing this is how can we lower this perceived barrier and make this easier for all of us? And there's a lot to read, and not only read, but comprehend when you, from the support staff at the foundation, in order to build a successful grant. But this is a way you can help yourself get there. So I thought it would be interesting, and I hope all of you enjoyed it. And I appreciate Pete's time in doing it.
Leanne, I think somebody had a question. Jim Polk, did you have a question?
He had his hand up.
Yes, I did. You stated that you could use the uploader and upload zip files. Would you then do the tasking to unzip the files and read that information? And would that be a better way to get larger documents or more documents uploaded?
I don't think it would matter, because I think that the unzipping and the loading would happen in your own browser. So really that's kind of what the plugin would do. So I don't think it would really, it might streamline your process, because you could, do that and walk away and it would upload both files, but I'm not sure it would really make anything more efficient or, that kind of thing.
Okay.
By the way, I really like your background.
I touch on this stuff at the Medford Grant, so.
That was the picture taken at Crater Lake.
Very nice.
National Park.
All right. Well,
So-
is that it then?
Well, nope. PDG Cindy had a question about when the nutritional grant that we put through. Do you remember specifics? Did it pick up on some of the same questions that the grant reviewer did? Do you recall?
Who are you asking?
You. So we put that nutritional forest grant through as an example. So Cindy was wondering, when we got the feedback, was it pretty close to what the grant reviewer?
You know what? I think I was unaware that I had the grant review responses on that.
Oh, okay. So Cindy, I guess we don't know the answer. What I specifically remember, and Pete and I commenting about, is we took a couple of approved grants and put them through, and he was then learning. He was learning from that what words to use, because you could teach AI to screen too closely because the grant was approved, but AI kept finding other areas of improvement. So it's a we're learning on our side too how to work with it and use it as a tool. And I think from here we'll close out and move on through the agenda. But for those of you who are interested, and it may at this point be our grant reviewers who could see this as a tool as the rest of us continue to learn its application. And if that's the case, certainly let Julie know, and we could continue to do a deeper dive with those that truly want to learn more about this, particularly as they move forward and want to do a global grant. And that may be one way that we could approach that. So Pete, on behalf of the group, thanks so much. This was
Sure,
very interesting.
Absolutely, absolutely my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me, Leanne.
Oh, you bet. We'll talk to you next week.
Okay, bye-bye. Bye,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Don't forget to unshare your screen. There he goes.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how many of you have taken the opportunity to play on with this Chat GPT tool at this point. Tim and I have done it a couple of times. We've done it to create a mission statement. I've done it to do a letter of reference and things. And it was pretty amazing. And it took, a 10th of the time it would have taken me to put something together. So that's kind of what inspired me to continue to look at this for all of us. So I appreciate your time listening to that. Okay, let's move forward through our agenda. Tim, can you bring our PowerPoint back up again? Oh, it's on me. Okay. This has been crazy this morning here, I'll tell you. Okay, there we go. We've done this. I guess let me go backwards here. A couple of committee reports maybe to share, and we really didn't structure this too much here, so I'll just kind of call out. I know that Chuck is on the call this morning. Chuck, did you want to share with the group about Luden, Global Scholar, and his accomplishments and just update the group?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Great, thank you.
We were able to help a scholar from Afghanistan. And he was able to get into a PhD program at Texas A&M, and through various gyrations, we partnered with clubs and a district down in Texas, and he has very successfully completed the full amount of the grant, and the university is providing support for him to complete the program, I believe. He has been able to publish 4 research papers in the less than a year and a half that he's been here, and actually traveled to, I think it was New York City to present one. So I know he is very, very appreciative that we were able to help him get out of Afghanistan and establish himself here. And I think it's probably been a good thing for Rotary and maybe even for the world. So I think we should feel good about that.
Thank you. And boy, I do. I've had the opportunity to be pretty close to this, and clear back to the beginning when he and his wife were able to get out of Afghanistan and settle into Texas with our help. And it's pretty powerful. Many of you have heard me say this before. I kind of thought it was a great tagline when Rotary said, I'm playing with my ear, Tim said, bringing peace, goodwill, and understanding to the world. And I thought, that's a great tagline, but it's not going to ever happen. And I can't even tell you how many times I've witnessed that. And certainly this Global Scholar program is one of the things that we can all be extremely proud of. This is really...
One other thing to mention is that Tommy, who chairs that committee, this is the magic of Rotary. Her son lives in that area and graduated from Texas A&M. His kids are in the university, and so we had a contact there that traveled to the airport and brought him back and housed him for some days and helped him get furniture and everything. So it worked.
It did work, Chuck. It's a Rotary family, and actually our district made Tommy's son a Paul Harris Fellow to thank him. I mean, he's certainly the extension of what Rotarians do, and this whole story is really powerful. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. Glad you're with us today. Paul Harris Society, Bob Worsing, I'm putting you on the spot, but did you want to update the group on anything going on there? Nope. I'm going to say no. And Polio Plus, Jane, good morning. This is kind of your first meeting. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to serve in this way. I'm just getting my feet under me. I do want to just let everybody know that October 24th is World Polio Day. keep an eye out on the district both calendar for those kinds of events and make sure that those are on your district and your club events. And I'll be getting some information out into the district newsletter about some opportunities and connections. You can always go to RI, Rotary International, and get the information there, which is really where I pull most of mine. So for giving information to your clubs, and also you're welcome to contact me. I'm very interested in meeting with clubs and coming and doing presentations. And that's it for right now. I think hopefully Amy's going to give us a little bit of an update on the artwork that she had gotten and was selling raffle tickets for. And those resources would be, those donations would go to your polio account. So I'll hope that Amy gets us some information about that. Thank you.
Great, Jane, thank you. And welcome aboard. I'm looking forward to working with you. And maybe Chuck, back to you, or Cindy, if you want to talk about the recent donation and our district being a Peace Builder district. When do you want to address that?
Cindy, go ahead.
Well, we're really proud to have donated $25,000 to the Peace Fund with Rotary International. It makes us, or designates our district as a Peace Builder district, which is an honor that we've had for the last several years. There are 4 different ways you can contribute to the Peace Fund, and we chose supporting the Peace Fellow program, which helps fund all the Peace Fellows each year. And unfortunately, so far, the permanent fund for Peace Fellows is not generating enough income to fund as many as we'd like to have every year. So we felt that our precious DDF dollars ought to be contributed to Peace Fellow category. Thank you to Chuck Root for being our Peace Fellow chair for the district and interviewing some of these really amazing people that apply each year. The committee is welcomes everyone, right, Chuck?
Yes.
And participating in the meeting, even if you don't ask any questions of the applicants, is really, really fascinating. These are very, very intelligent, qualified people that are seeking to understand conflict resolution in the world. So anyway, we're very pleased to have been able to do that for our district and for the Peace Centers.
Yeah, thank you to the district.
Wonderful. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you sharing that. Okay, moving on. Cindy, you can kind of join me here. I wanted to give kind of a year-end summary to all of you attending today to kind of get an overview of where we are as far as giving. Because from my standpoint, the giving from our very generous Rotarians around the district in all the areas you see on the screen has to do with how impactful we can be when it comes to the global grants in the future. So what I've done here for you is broken it down by the different funds: annual fund, Polio Plus, endowment. The other will contain things like what we've done, giving to Club Cash to grants and things like that, and some miscellaneous things. And then the totals year over year there. So Rotary year 21, 22, and then the most recent one, 22, 23. Excuse me. I noted there the percentage differences in both the annual fund and the Polio Plus fund. The other endowment and the totals were just these ginormous percentage increases, so I didn't even put those down there. Cindy, do you want to make a comment about this?
Only that I had no idea that we have $834,000 going into the endowment fund this year. Did that come in just at the end of the year?
I don't know specifically about it, but I think it actually someone had passed away, and in their estate there was a gift to the Rotary Foundation. I believe that's what that's representing. Jim may know more about that, or Amy if she can call.
Yeah, I saw a $300,000 gift from a deceased Rotarian go through, but this is new. In any case, what I want to say about this is that contributing to Rotary International's endowment fund is a contribution that's permanent. And and you can choose lots of different ways for the interest on that endowment contribution to be shared. But if you choose annual fund share District 5110, interest off your gifts, funds, are district dedicated fund deposits every year after it's earned its way out of there for about 3 years. So you can reach from the grave and continue to support all the clubs in Rotary District 5110. And to share that with your club members is really a valuable thing. If you don't designate where your generous gift will go, it goes to the World Fund, which is important. But if you'd like to see the money come back to District 5110, designating annual fund share District 5110 is a really valuable thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. And I think selfishly, I'm going to call out the annual fund numbers. I don't know, maybe Chris does, what our membership numbers were. Meaning if our membership is going down, that would be one reflection of why our annual fund donations are going down. But, you know, also that impacts what we're able to do, this group is able to do through our district grants and our global grant part, because half of that money comes back to us. So that's where I start getting a little bit selfish and want us to focus on those numbers so that we can continue to do the things that we're doing both locally and internationally. So
Well, that's true, Leanne. Membership is down.
Okay.
What's cool, even though membership is down, is that $37,000 from the endowment share program is coming back to the district. So anyway, and I know I'm beating the drum on endowment contributions going to annual fund share, but it really will help us into the future and help sustain our grant programs.
Right, agreed. Yeah, that's a year-over-year thing. And I do want to put a little asterisk by this. Actually, the Rotary staff is still doing year-end reconciliation on our 22-23 numbers, and it will be finalized on July 12th. So this may change a little bit if we go back and look at this, but I think again, just qualitatively, it gives us an idea of what we were able to accomplish this last year and then challenge ourselves for the 23-24 year. So
Good morning.
Give you a look at
He's
that.
actually a Bichon.
Okay, I'm going to use this opportunity to remind everybody to please.
Oh, please.
She doesn't really, she only gets to play forever after.
Leanne, can't you mute people as a host?
Leanne, you can mute Holly.
I totally agree. I will tell you guys, Tim and I are completely frustrated. Our computers, the account, everything is not acting normal. We're not seeing normal things. That's why you're seeing kind of some weird things that's going on here. I have no idea. I'm going to take a break here in a few minutes and I'm going to try and get this straightened out. But at this point, the technology is not behaving. I'm frustrated for all of us, so I apologize. So let's see what we can do here. Okay, quickly, I'm gonna run you through the district grant update and I invite Hal Kibbe, the stewardship chair, to join me, kind of let you know where we are right now. And then as soon as we finish this section, we're gonna take a break. So looking at the 23-24 district grant proposals that came in from clubs this year, there were 46 proposals that came in that met the June 1 deadline. That because there were multi-club grants in there that involved those 46 proposals involved 53 clubs. And we also have the district sponsoring a grant this year as well. What can you expect going forward? In our district policies, we have the deadline of September 1st. That all of your grant proposals need to be completed. The clubs need to be qualified by that date in order for your project to be funded and move forward. So we're sort of in that this window now. Cindy mentioned earlier that the next step, once we have all of the individual club projects, Cindy then puts those into what we call a block grant. And those are submitted to be reviewed by Rotary Foundation staff in Evanston, and that is happening now. You see at the bottom here, there was those 46 grant proposals was a request for 110,950 district designated funds or dollars there. That with your club money turned into almost $200,000 in value of projects that you're doing locally and internationally. One of the things that we were not able to talk about today is the new Rotary theme, Creating Hope in the World. Gordon McAnally, this year's Rotary International president, that was his theme. And Jim had an opportunity to hear him when he went to International Assembly this year to complete his final phase for becoming district governor. And my understanding of that is not only are Rotarians creating hope in the world, but the work that we're doing is creating hope in us and moving forward. And I think it's a great theme for all of us, and certainly bringing it back to our topics today. The value of the projects that we're doing are certainly bringing hope to the world. So what are the next steps? Again, we keep mentioning this word, getting your clubs qualified. And that
And it looks like Julie has a question.
Oh, Julie, do you want me to stop? Have you got a question?
Yeah, I just wondered if we would consider opening another round of district grants, since there's $85,000 or so still left that has not been allocated from the district grant side.
We've made a decision not to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, but there's not $85,000 left.
No, it's not that balance left either.
No, it's about $17,000, Julie. And our governor has requested that we keep that as a contingency for possible other projects. I mean, what if we have wildfires again? That sort of thing. We might be able to match a disaster relief grant and do good in our community. So it's just $17K. It's a lot, but that was the decision we all made.
Thank you, Cindy. So next steps, getting your club qualified and completing that. The due statements, and Kim is on here, maybe she can let us know when the district due statements will come out. And sometime, probably, I'm going to guess about mid-month, your treasurer should be getting the statement from Rotary International for the first 6 months of this year. As part of your club qualification, you need to make sure, talk to the people that handle this, that those two things get paid. Step number 2, if your club participated. Kim, do you want me to pause there? Do you want to comment about when your statement?
Yeah, I was going to probably look at getting those out this week. I was sort of waiting to make sure with the changeover in the year that we've got, hopefully everyone keeps their DAC-DB up to date so that the current presidents and treasurers and secretaries are the new year, and that way I can email the correct people.
Great point.
And thanks. That would, otherwise I have the information ready. I just need to send it out.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Number 2 on here is completing, if your club participated in a district grant last year, then those final reports need to be entered into DAC-DB, and then they need to be approved by your grant reviewer within the district and signed off on that to complete before you can receive funds for the new grant cycle. There are 4 reviewers going through those 46, I think I said, district grant applications, and we are communicating with each of your grant writers in your club for any missing information, anything that we need there. And those responses will need to come back by September 1st, along with paying your dues and making sure the other qualification terms are being met. Kim, have you got your hand up?
Yeah, I was just curious. So, I mean, mine's sitting there waiting, it says final signatures. And when I look at it, it looks like it has signatures, but I'm just a little, is Kathy, are you still someone we can turn to, or?
I have your club. I have your club now.
Okay.
Okay. So are you talking about last year's?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yes.
haven't, to be honest, I haven't gotten to those yet.
Okay, I just want to make sure. I wasn't sure if it's something I needed to do. That's why I wasn't sure.
Yeah, no, I will get back to you and we'll have a conversation. about
Okay.
You. Hal, do you want to jump on here and add any more information for the group?
No, I think you've covered where most of the clubs are still deficient. You know, the final reports, there's several clubs that haven't done their 22, 23 final reports. Obviously, nobody could have paid dues by now. There are, of the 23, 24 grants that have been submitted, there are a few clubs that have not submitted a club memorandum of understanding yet, or at least I don't have a record of it. And if I lost somebody's, I apologize. I got a whole bunch of them in about a week's period of time, and I may well have missed some of them. But I'm just going to send out this week to all the club contacts, if I don't have a club memorandum of understanding from you, to let you know that I'm missing it. And the other thing is, there's one club president that did not attend PETS, and I don't have a record of that club president having done the grant management seminar. So there's one club that has submitted a district grant that is deficient there. And other than that, that's it. You covered the other things I was going to talk about, Leanne.
Great, thank you.
Somebody's going to email that club.
So and what, I'm going to move on to my next slide here. So here's your contacts in the district that are working and supporting your clubs on district grants. And I think all of you are the ones demonstrating by your presence here today that you are totally invested in the grant program. And so that's why I think Hal and I appreciate the opportunity to share with you kind of where things are and what's going on. So if you're not the one hands-on doing it, you can go back and make sure that you share the information that you've learned today in this meeting and let your treasurer know, let your grant writer know, and have them double checking this so we make sure everything continues to move forward. Because again, our drop down dead date is September 1st of this year. As Cindy announced earlier, after 3 years of service, Kathy Poole, who's on this call, is stepping down as the district grants chair, and we continue our search to find someone to replace her. At this time, the people on the screen we've divided those grant applications up into pretty equal groups, and we're going through and reviewing them by alphabet. So you heard me tell Kim that she was in my part of the alphabet. And as far as I know, each of the four of us have reached out to our clubs already and let them know that we will be working with them and supporting them through the process, both getting their grant approved this year and then helping them on the final report end afterwards. So again, these slides will be available if you want to take a picture of this screen so you have that. And as I say, really the grant writers have already been contacted by us and they know who we are doing that. And thank you, Hal and Tim and Mike, for stepping up and doing this year. And thank you, Kathy, deeply for all the work that you've done in the past. This is such important work, and we appreciate your service there for sure. So Cindy, Hal, anybody else have anything more to say? Because I think we're going to take a stretch break here, and Tim and I are going to see if we can get our computers behaving correctly, and we'll be back in 5 minutes. So at about 12 after 10, we will be back and resume. So everybody take a break.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do.
Build that. Gosh, thanks for coming back, everybody. John Newmeister, how are you? All right, let's hope this second half goes better than the first half did. Let me get my screen back here.
Rename yourself.
So I'm going to talk and you're going to see Tim's picture. How's that? It's plugged into you.
I'm gonna spotlight you. There.
Thanks. Hey, Miss Julie, are you back on?
I'm here.
All right, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone. I'm very happy that you are all joining us today, and also very happy about the fact that we seem to have a renewed interest in global grants this year. Last year was the slowest year for global grants that any of us could remember. And this year, I already know of the 3 clubs that are going to be here today, and then 3 that are in the works for October. So that's really good news, and I'm glad that we are revitalizing that part of our projects that we do in our district. Our district grants are wonderful, but the way we really maximize what we can do for maximizing our DDF and getting money back into projects that our district is sponsoring is through the global grant process. So Leanne has shared with us here the vision that we have for global grants. And it is visionary because we're not there yet. We're working towards this. And the committee that I work with and myself, we are really trying to make sure that when you attempt a global grant, that you get the help and support that you need. And so that your grant application will be successful and will go through the process of review with very little feedback from changes that need to be made, because we will have taken care of that ahead of time. So just again, you can read what our statement is there, but this is really what kind of guides us in being more hands-on with you as you envision what your grant project may be, and then go through the process of gathering the information that you need and then submitting your grant. Okay, so we do have a global grant team that works on these things. Lynn, do you have a list of the names there, Leanne? Or just this? Okay. So I hope I get this right. This is our team is John Newmeister, Larry Rhodes, myself, and
Ralph,
Hal, but I'm also
Ralph Christensen.
Ralph, thank you. For our last is our team. And they are, again, when you submit your grant, you will be assigned a mentor. And that mentor will be one of the four of us. And so today, after today's meeting, the ones that are approved, we will get a mentor assigned to you to finish up the rest of the process. So thank you. So I want to go over a little bit the process that we are utilizing for global grants before we get into our approval. I've mentioned these things before, but we feel that by following this process, you will be less frustrated and hopefully more successful. So the very first thing you do before you do anything more formal is you give me a call or shoot me an email and let me know that you are interested in doing the global grant and what your project idea is. And so the reason for that is we don't want you to get invested in a project that will not qualify. So just to use an example, Tim Chesney had a great idea of something that used to be available via a global grant. And that was by providing water filters. And you know that Tim's club has worked on that for a long time, different water projects in Central America, providing water filters. However, from a global grant perspective, those are no longer fundable. The reason for that is they are not sustainable over time. The filters themselves do not last that long. So before Tim went too far down that path, we were able to determine that that was not something that could be funded. So we want to make sure that we have that discussion right up front and that we make sure that whatever your idea is, that it's something that will be funded. You also then want to go through the areas of focus. There's a document that you can find in the Grant Center on the RI website under My Rotary, and it will tell you not only what the area of focus is, but it will also tell you some of the fundable activities, some of the restrictions for that particular area of focus, so that you can make sure that the project that you have in mind fits in. And the other part of that is that we want to make sure that you have a good, strong relationship with that host club. And just to remind everybody, the host club is the club in the country where the project will take place. If we're writing the grants here and we're working with another country, we're considered the international host. And you want to make sure that your host club is qualified and that they are able to keep up what they need to do in order to be a strong partner with you on this grant. After those things, we want you to contact the regional grants officer. Again, in the Grant Center, you can get a whole list of who works with what country and what area, or you can just, I can get that information to you, because you want to really start developing a relationship with that grants officer even before you submit, so that when you do get a good draft, one of the steps we're going to follow is have that district grants officer review the draft of your project before you even turn it in, to make sure that everything that you need to do is done. And also that project, she can give you information, or he or she can give information about the host club, how they've done in the past, and also just what the project is and some of the things that you'll need to include in your application. Then once we've done all those steps, I will send you a pre-proposal form. That pre-proposal form is not available in the information, and that's intentional, because we really want you to go through these steps and make sure you have a valid project before you put in the work of filling that form out. And so then, and we will assign a mentor to you to get that work done. So I don't know if there's any questions on that page. There's a lot of information there. Once you do get your pre-proposal in, your mentor will help you with that, but you need to be considered a district grants meeting. And this is a relatively new requirement. I need to receive that a month ahead. And you might think, well, gee, why so long? And you know, the reason is we want to make sure that everything on that is correct, and that when it gets to the meeting, that we have a proposal that is done and it has the information that we need. once you come to the district and you, like today, the 3 that are there today, they can then go in and start their grant proposal. The reason we don't want you to go in prior to this is once you go in and you get a global grant number, the clock starts ticking on that grant, and you have 6 months after that is available for you to complete your proposal. So we don't want you to start that too soon. So if you go in earlier to do that, and maybe there's a full month that you've already wasted before we can approve it at the district grants meeting. And so then as you do it, you need to be in close contact with your host club, your regional grants officer, your mentor, all through that application process, so that when we do finally submit, hopefully that will be a successful grant without much feedback. What we don't want to do is get, pages of comments from the reviewer. That causes frustration for you, and it actually delays the process. So that's kind of what we're going to be doing this year. We hope that will be helpful and supportive to everyone writing a global grant. So I'm not monitoring the chat. So were there any questions there?
I'm working on it. I'm looking. Timeline can you put the timeline together giving our annual timelines? I'm not sure what the question is. Maybe whoever, Jim, can you maybe unmute yourself?
Yeah, you just mentioned a 6-month window, and a month in advance of that, where in advance of a quarterly meeting, but it looks like grants are annual, have to be in by June 1. So I'm confused by the 6-month.
Okay.
And can you put all of that in perspective, given the June 1 apparent annual timeline for our district?
But June 1 is for district grants, not for global grants. For global grants, there is no deadline or timeline. You can submit anytime throughout the Rotary year. You need to from our process in District 5110, you need to coordinate that submission with our 4 quarterly grants meetings. However, from our RITRF perspective, there is no timeline. So whenever you submit, that starts the clock running. I will say though that the World Fund, where we pull the matching funds that come from the World Fund, sometimes are exhausted by the end of the Rotary year. And so I encourage people to try, if you're going to do a global grant, to either get it into this meeting, the October meeting, or maybe the January meeting, because the one in the spring, it's possible that the World Fund might be exhausted at that point. From our own district perspective right now, we appear to have sufficient DDF to fund the global grants that are coming through each year. So we have not exhausted our DDF that's dedicated to global grants, but at the international level, that might happen. So you want to do it as early in the Rotary year as you can. Anything else, Tim?
Just to reiterate that in district, our policy is that we approve at these 4 meetings per year the district designated funds that would go towards your global grant project. So there is that timeline that people need to. Yeah, thank you. And Julie, Hal has reported that this is our estimate of what our available district designated funds, or DDF, is as we begin the 23-24 Rotary year. And that's prior to today's 3 proposals.
That's correct.
So this is for global grants. We're talking DDF available for global grants.
Yes. And just to remind everybody that when our DDF comes back, and it's based on how much money we gave to the annual fund the year prior, and so and a few other things, but that money comes back, and when we get that total amount in our district, we equally divide our DDF between global grants and district grants. It's required by TRF and RI that at the minimum that can go to global grants is half. We could do more than that, but in our district, we have just divided it in half So that half goes to global grants and half goes to district grants. But we're required to do at least that. So we have 3 grants to propose to you today. And so the first one is home ventilation assistance for children in Peru. And this is the Rotary Club of Springfield. And I think we have Bruce Mackey on our call, and Bruce is going to be telling us about this grant.
Well, good morning, and thank you for entertaining our grant proposal. Springfield Rotary is the designated leader of the 9 clubs of the South Valley Group for the 2023-2024 Rotary year to select and advocate for a global grant. And our project is entitled Home Ventilation Assistance for Children. The area of focus, obviously, disease prevention and treatment, and the location specifically is in Lima, Peru. The host club there, Rotary Club of San Isidro Este, they're part of District 4455. The primary contact there, Dr. John Oliveira. And obviously Springfield Rotary will be the international host club or international sponsor club, and I am the contact. The need is that there are children there in Lima whose complex diseases lead them to have a deficit in respiratory function, which requires constant hospitalizations with prolonged stays, separating them from their family and experiencing a loss of schooling. These children are affected by various diseases such as infant cerebral palsy, neurodegenerative diseases, muscular dystrophies, or lung diseases such as CF, cystic fibrosis. Frequent or constant hospitalization expose the children to more infections. It also stresses family time and finances and ties up hospital beds that are desperately needed for acute care patients. This project isn't starting from ground zero in that the pediatric palliative care unit there has been working with children to supply ventilators for them to be treated at home, but they're using donated secondhand ventilators, several of which are failing, have already failed, several more are failing, and parts and service are difficult to find in the local market. So the solution is to purchase 10 new biphase ventilators, which are a step up from CPAP. Don't need to go into the details there, but would allow for replacement where needed of the existing old ventilators and supply additional patients as they are identified. The National Children's Health Service estimates that 5 additional children on average per year would need this service. Taking care of the ventilators, including replacement parts, can be obtained in the local market and will be the financial responsibility of the National Health Service. You're looking at the budget. In terms of monitoring of results, Eddie Caceres, who was the president of the Rotary Club there, the host club, states that the Brenna National Institute of Children's Health is willing to provide detailed documentation of children who will benefit from the use of this equipment. And then finally, in terms of involvement of Rotarians, you might think that because it's a medical project that involvement might be minimal, but Jessica Lin Yan, who originally forwarded this idea to Julie, there would plan a dedication ceremony with participation by local and international Rotarians and invite the national media in Peru. She would also write an article for Rotary Media. But then the club hopes to meet and interact with families of the children who receive these ventilators to learn of the benefit and also help the families appreciate Rotary's involvement. But perhaps more importantly, the club there has doctors in its membership, one of whom is on staff at the Children's Hospital. So they will participate and monitor the training, the implementation, and the results of the project. And that's it in summary. Are there questions?
You know, I would just like to point out on this application, just for everyone to kind of understand how this works and to remind people. So you'll see that there's $9,000 coming in club cash. There's a variety of different clubs that have contributed as Bruce, and so that is District 5110 club cash. You'll also see that the district there's money coming from the club, the partner club of $1,000. And then also there's DDF coming from that district. So when we think about club cash, the club cash that is matched here for DDF is just what comes from 5110, not what comes from the other district. So that's why the DDF request here is $18,000. However, that DDF then goes from 4455 is combined with ours, and the total of those two DDFs is then matched at the 80% level at the international level. So it's very beneficial if we can get some DDF from the partner district that we're working with, and that because of the partnership with Jennifer that you talked about, I think that's one of the reasons this has come through. So basically, to go forward here, we are the no money needs to be raised for this. It's already been raised for what we need in 5110, and the request is for $18,000.
There's a question from Sally from Florence. You want to unmute yourself, Sally?
Yeah, thank you. If I heard you correctly a while ago, you talked about water projects are no longer considered because the filters don't last that long, something to that effect. And I'm wondering, what's the lifespan of these ventilators? Are they 1 year, 2 year, 5 year, 10-year lifespan, or what is it? Do you know?
We've been given an estimate in the 4 to 5 year range.
Thank you.
Julie, this is Chuck. I have a question. Isn't there a minimum amount that needs to come from the global grant, global fund for a grant?
There is a minimum amount. It needs to be a total of $30,000 when you consider all the funding sources. So that's the minimum for a global grant is $30,000.
Thank you.
This is Jerry from Eugene. Could you clarify? I think you said that both DDF funds can be combined, and then you get 80% of that.
Correct.
Is it? Well, so 18,000 plus 2,500.
Correct.
And so that 80% of that is the math come out right? I thought the
Maybe
math
it's
was
not, maybe it's 80% of the 18,000. So we'll have to correct that. Thanks, Sherry. That's 18%. I mean, just in my head, I'm saying 80% of 18,000 is probably around 6,400. But we'll make sure in the application form, when you actually put this money in, it auto calculates it all in the grant application. So if that's not correct, it'll be correct.
No, it was correct.
It is correct, I think.
18,000 plus 2,500 times 80% is 16,400. So it was correct.
Yeah, thank you. It is correct. There we go.
Great. Thanks,
my
Bruce.
math was slow.
My mental math is not as strong as it used to be.
Same here.
And that is an element in the training materials that Rotary Internet TRF highly values local contribution from the host district and club and community in terms of having some skin in the game financially.
Right. It's not required, but it is really highly recommended. Yeah.
Julie, could we ask for a motion, please?
Yes, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve $18,000 in DDF for this project.
So moved.
Thank you, Nelson. In a second?
I'll second.
Second.
Okay, so what we're going to do, thank you, Chris, we're going to put on a poll for you to vote for this. So Leanne, if you could get the poll.
Right, we're going to launch that right now. And as I said earlier, all of you as participants today are the grant committee, and you get to vote on this approval. I can't see the poll, so Tim's,
50 out of 54 voted.
Tim's telling me that almost everybody has voted.
It's unanimous.
So Tim, would you launch it so everybody can see?
Wonderful. That's really
Great.
great.
Congratulations, Bruce. Congratulations to your club, and thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Okay, so we're going to move to our next one. And this is supporting Ukrainian families in terms of the trauma from the wars that they've been, all the families have been suffering under. And our presenter on this is Bob Nichols. So Bob, if you could come forward.
Hi there, and good morning, everyone. Thanks for listening to our proposal. It may take a little background explanation, a little bit more so than Bruce's. Basically, we're addressing the peace building and conflict resolution area of focus, and the goal within that is supporting refugees and immigrants by providing services that help them integrate vulnerable populations into society. So I have been working with one of several colleagues from Oregon Health and Science Universities and a couple of colleagues from other universities with our colleagues in Ukraine over the past 6 years, working to build capacity of local professionals in taking care of kids with mental health conditions and developmental disabilities in Ukraine. Prior to the pandemic, we were going annually and doing workshops in 3 different areas. Since the pandemic, we've been working virtually. We started an ECHO project in the fall of 2019, prior to the onset of the war. And our ECHO project focused on children with mental health conditions and developmental disabilities. With the onset of the war, the ECHO project was stopped. We were asked by our colleagues in Ivano-Frankivsk, Ukraine, to restart our ECHO project last fall because they wanted to at least have some sense of normalcy within the context of this war and address some of the needs of the children and family. So basically, our goal is to build a capacity of local healthcare professionals to provide supports to children and families who've been traumatized by the war. And we're doing this through an ECHO model. ECHO model itself has been recognized as an evidence-based strategy for building capacity of local professionals to address various issues. It started as a health issue from the University of New Mexico. They were addressing hepatitis C, and it's expanded worldwide, and there are many international projects. Ours is the only one in Ukraine. And basically, the ECHO model connects experts, which they call the hub, with participants out in the communities, which they call the spokes, through Zoom teleconferencing. So that instead of kids and families waiting to get to see a health professional at a medical center, for example, we build capacity out in the community by community professionals to provide those services locally. And that's done by these monthly ECHO sessions, which last about an hour and a half. They focus around case presentation, so present a case. And then there's a brief didactic where they address some of the issues presented by the case that also includes resources. So we're proposing to add one session a month that focuses specifically on children traumatized by the war, and build capacity through these case studies where we discuss them in detail, and then also providing resources to these professionals which can be downloaded by them from the internet easily, or even by families. So the direct beneficiaries are going to be the professionals who participate in our ECHO sessions, and these include mental health professionals like psychologists, pediatricians, some students from the university locally, as well as teachers. And the indirect beneficiaries are going to be the children that are in their practices. So I apologize for the extended background, but that's it in a nutshell. The budget we're asking for is some salary support and equipment support. So these ECHO sessions can be done independently. Currently, it's all volunteer both in terms of time commitment and particularly in terms of translation. As you might imagine, the translation required is quite extensive, both for the materials developed and posted on websites, as well as the PowerPoints, translation themselves, as well as the face-to-face translation that happens during these sessions. So I'll stop there. Just very briefly, we're working with the Rotary Club in Ivano-Frankivsk, and we're actually supporting them in one of their initiatives, which is to send some of these kids, again, traumatized by the war, to 10 days of kind of restoration and relaxation and fun in the Carpathian Mountains, so a summer camp project. Our psychologists that we work with, who are faculty members of the university there in Ivano-Frankivsk, will be reviewing some of these kids, again, identifying those kids who need more specific follow-up with mental health professionals afterwards. And we are looking for, as you see here, $750 more club cash to meet our budget.
So let's start with that. And Bob, I checked in with my committee and we can give you that, from the Ashland Rotary Club of Ashland, that $750 that you need.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you.
I have a question.
Questions?
Go ahead. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Eric.
The area of focus, maybe that's the correct place, but it strikes me as not necessarily being a very good match. It seems to me we're dealing more with child health issues. We're not building peace with this, and we're not doing conflict resolution or prevention as I see it. So I'm wondering if the area of focus is accurate.
Yeah, thank you for that question. And it was something I struggled with as well. We did have a session, Leanne, Julie, myself, and the TRF representative to discuss this particular issue. And we came up with the agreement that this was the best fit, particularly when we're addressing the goal of, again, integrating the, refugees and immigrants into society, providing those kinds of supports. I did not say so, but within Ukraine, in the area where our project is going to be housed, Ivano-Frankivsk is the southwest of Ukraine. 40,000 or more families have been moved into that area who are internally displaced families or refugees within Ukraine. So the refugee population is our primary goal to address those children, but secondarily, other children who are traumatized by the war and live locally will potentially be impacted by the project.
And I just want to jump in and reiterate how important that conversation is with the regional grants officers. And so actually, Bob's initial idea was much bigger than this, that included refugees here in the United States and refugees in Ukraine. But she recommended that we consider those as two separate projects. And then she helped us to identify the best match for the area of focus. So that's very helpful. That's the kind of helpful information we can get right up front from our regional grants officers that will help smooth the way for eventual approval.
Julie and Bob, can I insert something into that too? Going back to Eric's question, I think when I hear the title Peace and Conflict Resolution, it brings certain things to mind as well. But this is where the policy statements for each of the areas of focus, as long as the guidelines can really help us narrow down what exactly that means. And in fact, it reads specifically what Bob is doing inside there is what he has set up. So in the fine print, as they say, you can find that this is a very good match. Nelson. And Nelson, you had your hand raised.
Thank you. We've heard a lot about making sure that the international club and the international district has skin in the game. As I see the presentation here and as I read the grant application, I noticed that neither the international club nor district appears to be putting any type of money into this. I was wondering if you could help us understand why that might be the case.
Oh, well, I'm not sure. Our club is putting up $7,500. So that should be clear.
Nelson, you're referring to the host club. The host club is where the project takes place, and yes, according to the budget here, they have not contributed anything. I think Bob answered the question.
And I'll refer you back to my comment about their related project, which is sending kids to summer camp. So they're using their local funds to try to and international funds as well to try to send kids to summer camp. As an aside, any of you other clubs who are interested in contributing to that, you can contact me. One child for 10 days in summer camps is $450. So our club, the Rotary Club of Eugene, has put up $5,000 so to support 10 kids going to this summer camp. But basically, we're working with their district, and that's where their funds are going right now.
And just to answer a little bit more about that, Nelson, you know that because of the war in Ukraine, I think local support for these, and certainly DDF support from the Ukrainian district, which all of Ukraine is one large district, that money is pretty all tied up in a variety of ways, as you can well imagine. So I think that, you know, when working in a country that is involved in such a brutal war, that it's a little different. And I don't think this will be a problem that they haven't been able to support it directly.
I should also comment that the person we're working with directly there is the current district governor of that district.
Julie, we had another question from Sally. I'm going to unmute and go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just curious about how many participants are expected to be a part of the Zoom Echo calls each month. I mean, what's the history of that?
Thank you. One of our goals of our project is to expand the number of participants. So currently we have about 30, and it's a mixture of those folks we talked to you about. A lot of psychologists, a few pediatricians, some teachers, some university students. There's a related project which is out of Lviv in Ukraine, and I'm sure many, if not all of you, have heard of Lviv because that's kind of the center where a lot of the refugees went and are leaving the country. And we're working with a group there headed by the head of child psychiatry at the Catholic University in Lviv. They've been putting on some webinars, and so we're using a lot of the material developed through those webinars for our echo sessions will be. And they are going to be advertising our echo sessions through their webinars, and we're looking to expand our participant level to about 100 through that collaboration.
Thank you.
Joe Vincent, you had a question?
Yeah, just briefly, I want to follow up on Nelson's question. I take it then that contributions from the host club are optional. And is this an option that's judged by criteria set by TRF or by District 5110?
Again, it is optional. And so the requirement from the TRF is that at least half of the money in this has to be raised by the international club. So that meets that criteria for what we're doing. But and the reason for that is that they don't want the host club raising all the money and finding an international partner that would then just put a little bit of money to allow that host club to do what they wanted to do. The ratio needs to be different than that. And so I know I can just speak from my own personal experience that the number, I'm on my 7th global grant with Vanuatu, and they are not always able to put in much money to it, nor is their district, because their district does not have the amount of DDF that we have to distribute each year. So it's encouraged, but it's not required.
I should also add really very quickly, I've been fortunate both based on our connections through OHSU as well as some of the connections within Ukraine and folks who are interested in supporting Ukraine. We've had the volunteer support of a number of nationally recognized experts in different areas to contribute to both the program out of Lviv and our program, the ECHO program. One example is a woman who worked at Stanford previously, Jody Thomas, who's developed a treatment program for treating chronic pain in children. So she has translated a lot of her materials into Ukrainian and post them. I'm going to post them on websites so they can be downloaded by, we can use those materials within our ECHO sessions. They can be downloaded easily by both the professionals and the families in Ukraine. And the beauty of the ECHO is it's anyone who has an internet connection in Ukraine can join the program.
Thank you, Bob. Julie, I'd ask you to call for a motion.
Yes, can I get a motion to approve this project?
Motion to approve.
Thank you.
Seconded.
And who is the second?
Cindy O'Neill.
Thank you, Cindy. Okay, we'll have another poll up. So when that comes up, please vote.
Tim's monitoring for us, just a few more to come in as soon as that's completed. Tim will share the poll.
Great.
98%.
Great. Bob, congratulations. You have worked very hard on this.
Yes.
And I'm excited for you.
Yeah,
Truly.
thanks to everyone.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you to the Ashland Club and any members present today for that $750 to complete Bob's budget so he can move this forward. That's how this works, and it's pretty exciting. Thank you. All right, let's move on. And Julie, here's your final presentation.
Great. And so this presentation is also through some contacts we had in Peru. So this is great that we're able to utilize some of our other networks to find great projects for our district to participate in. And so this is using neonatal incubators to transport premature children, babies that are born in rural Peru. Again, Rotary Club of Eugene Delta, the main person on this is Gail Cole. However, she is out of town. So Kim Meyer is going to be presenting this for us. So Kim, if you could come on, and Leanne, if you could, there you go. Great. They prepared a couple of slides for us. So Kim, if you could walk us
Sure.
through it.
Yeah, so again, like Julie said, this came to us. Actually, I think initially this probably came out of Friendship Exchange with some folks who were in Peru, where we have met Julie, who is the district, their district's grant person down there. And the host club is the Rotary Club of Ica Sur in an area called Ica, Peru. And these are transport incubators for Santa Maria del Sorca Hospital. And they'll provide, it's a mobile transport to move premature babies within a hospital, but then to other hospitals as well, if needed be. And this is to assist in reducing their perinatal mortality rate. This area of the hospital is in one of the poorest areas, in the area of these two areas that I do not pronounce well, Ayacucho and Huancavelica. And that right now there's between 2,300 and 2,500 births per year, and 3 to 5% of those are premature. And then 4 out of every 1,000 children will die in the first month. Thanks. So these incubators will help reduce the neonatal and newborn mortality rate, and it gives us the access to essential services, trained community workers, and healthcare providers. This hospital provides care for in the 4 medical specialties. It attends between 150 and 170 deliveries a month, and a third of them by cesarean section, and cares for an average of 1,800 to 2,300 newborns a year. So the product of these deliveries occurring in the same hospital, of which 4% are premature, and it carries very high risk of cardiorespiratory problems. So this hospital has 3 beds for intermediate care and 3 beds for neonatal intensive care. And it has an occupancy rate of 100%. So it has assumed that the care of these neonates referred from other provinces and departments that do not have this unit. So new incubators are always necessary to transport the babies. So this is a picture of the transport unit. And a full-term newborn can regulate their body temperature naturally, but a premature baby loses their heat because they have such thin skin. So the thermal regulation is one of the critical factors in the survival and stability of newborns. So these incubators for premature babies and neonates is fundamental equipment of a neonatal intensive care unit. These are the measures for success, which is they'll be reporting quarterly on a percentage of newborn ICU deaths. And I asked Gail about what RN meant in this case, and because these measures came from our partners in Peru. Rate of referrals, RN to ICU, how that's been affected, and the number of RNs transported. And we believe it's an abbreviated term for a neonatal or premature baby. And then another measuring will be the number of educational activities for mothers in the population. So these are things that they will be reporting quarterly. The sustainability on this project is, so the Draeger company is providing the equipment, and actually in Peru, the government has lists of providers that you have to use. And their location will assist in procuring any parts or assistance in the future. They will also provide the training to hospital staff for using the equipment, and they will also provide the maintenance of the equipment. The hospital will assume responsibility and cost of maintaining the equipment in working order. And hospital staff will provide ongoing training to pregnant mothers and mothers with babies. So this is the community assessment that was done. Peru contracted the ICA Rotary Club for assistance, and several of the doctors and stuff are members of this club. Rotary and Rotaract members met with staff, patients, inventories, and surveys were done and interviews conducted. I won't read all of these, but basically this club and worked with the professionals in the hospital to do interviews, consult with everyone in the hospital regarding the needs for this equipment and being able to sustain and maintain this equipment. And the main concern is, okay, go ahead. And these are just some pictures that were shared with Gail of meeting with those folks. So we can move from that. So our budget is, the incubator itself is $32,500. It requires 2 neonatal monitors for $13,000, phototherapy lamps, $8,700. The non-invasive transcutaneous diruminometer. They have a bubble CPAP, training materials for the mothers, Felicity, and then we have a contingency in there of $1,000. So that's where we come up with our total budget of $73,600. A lot of, the basic equipment itself, doesn't come to that, but in order to, maintain it and sustain it and have these things available if there's failure, that's our budget came to $73,600. So we have 8 of our local Rotary clubs contributed. 3 clubs are still outstanding, but so that's $8,000. And I think we've only received about 5 of that, I guess. And then we put in, we have 7 that we're putting in, but out of that, right now we have 5. So you'll see at the end, we're actually asking in the thing for maybe a $2,000 from other clubs, which that goes towards that 7 basically. The DDF 2-to-1 match is the $30,000. The 8 + 7 is 15. And then we have from District 4455 $42,000. And then the Rotary Club of Ecosur is putting in $1,000. So 80% of that's $25,600 to come up for a $73,600 plus the TRF handling fee of $800. And then we're just right now asking for donations to cover 2,000 of this grant. And Gail has a special thank you in here to everyone who helped her for Jessica in Peru and Julie DeTaro here helped us with this grant. And I know Gail wishes she could have been here today because she worked really hard on this, but she's traveling back from her vacation from 4th of July, and so she wasn't able to attend. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best.
Jim Polk, you had your hand, had your hand up.
No, actually, I didn't have my hand up, but question I had was, how long does it, what's the life expectancy of the incubator and how will it be maintained?
I'll be honest, I don't know the answer to the life expectancy, but I'm guessing it's probably fairly long. I'm guessing it's probably somewhere around 10 years, but that was part of the question in the hospital will maintain it. The company that built it will also be a part of they'll have a contract with them to maintain it. And that provider will also provide any parts and stuff for it.
Thank you. Bruce Abernathy, I think you had your hand raised for a comment.
Yeah, and I apologize if you covered this earlier. I was distracted at the very beginning. Totally understand how this could be helpful for it, but I missed the reason why a child might need to be transported though. And again, obviously you need to have the capability at either end of taking care of them when they get there, but I guess I missed the transportation link.
Okay, so this is for both inside the hospital. And then this particular hospital takes a lot of these preemies from other hospitals who cannot handle them. So basically they would be able to take this transport to that other hospital and bring the baby back.
Thank you. You answered the question. Thank you. I missed that. Thank you.
So if I can interrupt, the two towns, Ayacucho and the other one are actually Andean and in that province, if you look them up on the map.
Right.
I bet that's what they're talking about.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
And Ica is down by the coast.
Right. Yeah, they bring in a lot. This hospital just serves a pretty wide area of the rural portion of Peru around Inca.
Yeah.
So I was curious about the training of mothers, the $2,000 allocation. Is that going to be for literature, or how are they interfacing with the equipment?
Yeah. There's $2,000 of, yes, it's primarily for literature. So, and training both from the hospital staff themselves. So they won't deal with the equipment, but it'll be training them about caring for the premature baby, probably a newborn, once they've left the hospital. Plus, I'm sure it's also training about what's going on with their child while they're in this ICU area. And I can get further information on that from Gail. To be honest, don't know what the level of detail is in the materials, but it is literature that will be printed and available to the mothers, as well as actual training by the staff.
Kim, this is Leanne. As part of if there's going to be training involved in a global grant, and this is more passive education for the group, have you already prepared the training manual that will be submitted with your application to TRF staff?
We have not, and that's a question I guess I would have to ask of the staff in ICA. My guess is maybe not if they don't have the unit yet. I mean, part of that training, I mean, as far as the training to the parents, that's probably something they could come up with, but the training for the unit itself is going to have to come from the manufacturer.
And Leanne, in my conversations with Gail, that's something that the host club is very well aware of, and will be providing that information.
Okay, good.
Both training on the equipment itself, although that is less of a need because they have other incubators, so the staff. I mean, the difference between this one is it's portable and it can be used to transport. But the main training element here is going to be with parents, so that to get at that infant mortality rate, it's really important that there's ongoing support and training for high need babies as they go home.
Great, thank you.
So yeah, that's something that she has the host club is aware of and is working on.
Okay, perfect. Paul, I'm going to take your question, and then I'm not sure whose hand is up from Eugene, and then Kathy Hoffer. Paul, you want to go ahead?
I don't have a question. Our club will contribute $500.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
I was a little wrong in the way I did it. We need to approve the grant and then we'll open up for
Yeah.
I did that wrong when I jumped the gun on mine too. So just thank you for that. And we will note that, but we're going to go through approval first.
Jerry, do you have a question or comment?
Yes. So I think early on in one of your slides, you said that the hospital has 3 newborn beds, I guess, and then 3 ICU beds for newborns. Anyway, you said that they were 100% capacity. So this unit is going, I mean, is there capacity for, this unit will provide more capacity to transport babies to the main hospital. Is there going to be space for the babies?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm sure that, but I'm guessing there's going to also be times when they will potentially use that incubator in the ICU unit as well.
Right, you did say that transporting inside the hospital too.
Right. I'm just saying also, you know, I mean, if it's there and they don't have a transport need, they may actually temporarily have a baby in there. I don't know that answer to that specifically, but I know this is something that this hospital's been wanting for a while. So I believe that they will have space for that.
So they don't have one. It's not a replacement.
No, they don't have, they do not, no, it's
increased
not a
capacity.
replacement. They
Okay,
do not
great.
have one at all. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And Kathy, your question?
Hey, Kim, it sounds really good. My concern is being part of the SVRGC meetings. Sometimes when we have requests made to our club to provide our $1,000 that we're supposed to give every year, and apparently 3 clubs have not done it, I would specifically ask those 3 clubs again to make sure they know they have to, the route that they have to go to donate that money, because we're obligated pretty much to donate every year.
Yeah. And I know Gail's been talking to them.
Okay.
And also with, who kind of, is it Larry? Someone who runs that program, right? Larry Rhodes, yeah. So I know, as far as I know, they are aware.
Okay.
I don't know if it's just getting the treasurer or someone to write the track or the process, but I know that Gail has been in contact with Larry and those presidents.
Okay, good. The other thing I wanted to mention is, you know, we have a medical supply warehouse where we have tons of supplies for sending abroad. And it's one of our major projects. And I think some of that equipment might exist in our warehouse. So you might want to get somebody to check that out. And maybe
we can check it out. And I think I guess it would just depend if it would be specific to enough to fit that particular piece of equipment.
Yeah. And so most of it's going to be purchased down there.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And just to note that if you're not purchasing equipment locally for a global grant, you have to really justify why you're not. So they're looking for, part of the sustainability we need to demonstrate is that we're using local vendors, local products. And there's a lot of reasons behind that. And I know in some, like in this setting, in Peru, it's dictated by the national healthcare, what kinds of things that they can utilize. So there's not a lot of choice. So Draeger is one that has been selected by the Peruvian government to provide this. But one of the sections in the global grant application is you have to answer the question, are you using local vendors and local suppliers? And if your answer is no, you have to go through a pretty long reason why that can't happen. So we're really looking to use those local folks.
Thank you, Julie. I'll ask for a motion, please.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve the DDF of $30,000 for this project.
I move.
Thank you, Paul. And a
Second.
Did someone come in as a second?
I second Chris Hainsworth.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, so a poll is going to come up, and then after we vote, we'll raise some money for them.
I would just like to say one thing that's exciting is we actually had a video call with 3 or 4 of the people from this group on the way home from the last grant meeting. We had to stop somewhere to have the call with them. So it was kind of fun.
That's cool.
Okay, passed.
Great.
Did you put it up?
Yeah.
Okay, everybody can see the results there. Congratulations. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Julie, do you want to collect the rest of your money?
Yeah, so we need to raise $2,000 to make this project a go, and we already have 500. And are there other clubs that would be willing to contribute? And please raise your hand under the reactions so that we can see where that is. And then Leanne, if maybe you could call on those folks, because I don't see that.
Yeah, Jerry Harris.
Rotary Club of Eugene will donate $250.
Thank you.
Thank
Any
you,
other-
everyone.
Any other considerations? Okay, Kim, so there's 750 for you. And then I think
Right.
Kathy's point about seeing where your other clubs in your consortium are.
Right, which we've included those numbers in there. So
Already, I'm sorry, I didn't understand that. Yeah.
no, I mean, yeah, but we will definitely be talking to them. And I know we're gonna probably do some kind of a dinner fundraiser for this as well.
Great, congratulations. And, again,
Thank you.
I'll remind everybody that the video, the recording today will be available and posted for those who were not able to attend. And so you may get some more from that, or certainly you can go back to your clubs. And if this is something that excites you and you think this is a good match for your club, they may want to contribute to that. So thank you. Congratulations to all 3 proposers today.
Yay.
Yay. All right, let me get to the end here.
Going backwards, but yeah. Oh, there you go.
There we go. Thank you. So actually, on behalf of all the presenters today, thank you. Does anybody have any questions or anything that they need for clarity before we sign off here? Doesn't sound like it. We've all done a good job. Thank you. Cindy, would you like to close the meeting?
Excuse me, I have a question.
Of course.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Excuse me, my name is Steve Lund. I'm with the Rotary Club of Roseville of Reedsport. And the president of our club has asked me to check in. And if I understood her correctly, the Medford Club has a program that they're working on looking for support. Is that correct?
Not at this meeting. So the Medford Club is working on a project, but at this time that will be presented at the October meeting, I believe.
So it's not appropriate to indicate support from our club regarding that project at this time.
I would just contact that club directly.
Let me jump in here. Steve, I don't know if this is correct or not, but I know that there's been some kind of conversation between your club and our club, Medford Rogue, related to water filter projects in a district grant. So we have the grant submitted. You wouldn't be able to submit for this year, but your members of your club could participate in the project on site, and you could also contribute some funding. That's what I've heard about it. But if we could talk offline or whatever and see if that's what you're referring to.
Yeah, that is what I'm referring to. This was discussed at a general meeting and I didn't get all the information, but we just like to indicate that we will support that program. And if you could call me, we can confirm that. My phone number is 916-956-5300.
Whoops. What is your last name, Steve?
Lund, L-U-N-D.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve, for bringing that up. Appreciated. So Cindy, would you like to close out?
Certainly. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Thank you for your generosity when you donate to the Rotary Foundation, especially the annual fund, which is what makes these grants tick. And lastly, I'm very, very impressed with the quality of the global grants submitted today, the detail that went into the presentations, the budgets, and the topics for children, creating hope in the world. Thank you, Julie, for all the help that you give our club members in preparing these grants. And good luck to everyone as you send these grants into RI, which is the next step for approval. Thanks again, everyone. It's a pleasure always to attend these meetings. This is what makes Rotary tick for me. Governor Jim, would you like to close us out formally?
Sure. Thank you all very much, and we'll call this meeting complete. See you next time.
Hi, everybody.